we finally get to meet Group C for Season 13 of The Masked Singer. So we've got 5 new competitors: Yorkie, Stud Muffin, Nessie, Cherry Blossom, and the Mad Scientist Monster. 1 will go home, 4 will move on, but all are new to us. So let's talk The Masked Singer. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my recap and reaction video for the new episode of The Masked Singer. We are in season 13, and we're finally meeting Group C. The theme is Carnival Night, but it has really nothing to do with anything except for the panel dresses up a little bit festive, and that's about it. Because not all of these are like party songs. I don't think it has anything to do with anything else, but they needed to give us a theme or something. So we won't talk too much about that. But before we launch into the specifics of the episode and get to my recap, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a Dan Reviews It subscriber already, thank you so much for that. Love having you guys return to the channel. But if you're not, please consider subscribing. And I do much more than just Masked Singer content on the channel. I do movie and TV reviews, and just about every day posting something new. So there's always a lot going on here. And of course, commenting helps my Masked Singer videos tremendously because it helps me figure out who might be under these masks. I think I'm pretty close on 2 of these. 2 of these I have no idea, and I don't really have a good guess on who's going home either. So this is going to be an interesting one because I don't have a lot to go on for many of these. A couple of them just not in what I think is my wheelhouse. So we will see about that. But yes, please comment below with who you think is under the mask and how you can connect the clues to that person. All right, so we start off with Yorkie. I will say Rita is back this week. Last week, she was absent for whatever reason, and Casey Wilson filled in and did a great job. But we have Rita back this week, and the Yorkie was first. And like they've been doing for the initial clue packages for each singer in Group A and Group B, we have a little taste of them looking at the mask for the first time and sort of commenting on it and how it might relate to them, and then we go into the clue package from there. So she says, all my dreams have come true. She's giving, I'm a rock star, I'm accessible, but I'm not. We're both sassy, fashion forward, and dare I say it, popular. And she paused that way like it's Ariana Grande or something because of the popular song from Wicked. It's not Ariana Grande. She says it's kismet. Don't be fooled by the designer dog looks. I've still got bite. We see a party hat with what I thought was a mouse on it, but then she said something about a rat. And she said catching rats is a good skill to have when you've been through everything I've been through. So I think it's a rat on the party hat. She said, 1 minute you're so hot, the next it's your time to go. And we see a ring with an enormous diamond on top of it. She says, but lucky for me, I've had music, and it's the one place I can truly express myself. We see casino chips at that point, like from a poker table. And then she sings Hot to Go by Chaperone. And then after each performance, Nick we don't really get clues per se, but Nick asks them a little bit about like what it's like to be in the costume, or why are you on the show, or whatever. So he asked her about, coming on the show, and she said, I was down bad, but then a lovely lady from Beverly Hills adopted me, and now I'm eating caviar. All right, so the guesses from the panel, Jenny thought it might be a comedian like a Chelsea Handler. Rita was thinking maybe it was just a socialite like a Paris Hilton. And then Ken thought it might be somebody from The Real Housewives like Kyle Richards. Never heard of that person. I am with Ken, though. I think this is probably somebody from The Real Housewives. The Beverly Hills clue tells me maybe it's a Real Housewife of Beverly Hills. We've had a lot of reality stars and specifically housewives on the show, so I don't know. A lot of the ones I have known have already gone. I thought initially maybe it could be Tiffany Haddish, and I only say that because she was in foster care her whole life, so talking about being adopted, I think this is more metaphorically than a legal adoption. I could be wrong on that, but so I was thinking a little bit maybe about that. Casino Chips, she certainly played Vegas. And I believe she was in the movie from last year or maybe 2023 called Back on the Strip, which is about the Vegas Strip. And I think it's a stripper movie too, but it takes place in Vegas. I think Tiffany Haddish was in that. But the voice to me just doesn't really match at all. So I'm back to thinking this is some sort of Real Housewife. And I don't have any clues there. I don't know who Kyle Richards is. I mean, there's a few names that I sort of vaguely know, but we've had some of them on the show already. So I don't know, but I don't think it's Chelsea Handler or Paris Hilton. I don't think it's sort of in that vein. And I don't really want to guess Tiffany Haddish because I don't think that's correct. If I was a little more familiar with some of these women, maybe, but like Beverly Hills, I don't know. I'm going to just throw a name out there because I believe she is part of the Beverly Hills cast of The Real Housewives. Could this be Camille Grammer? That's Kelsey Grammer's ex-wife. I think maybe Jenny has guessed her before. But I'm pretty sure because of the Hollywood connection with Kelsey Grammer, I do think she's part of the Beverly Hills world of The Real Housewives. I mean, it could be like Denise Richards or something too, but I don't think so. So there's a complete shot in the dark. Please help me in the comments on this one because I really don't know, but I'll guess Camille Grammer for now. All right, so up next, the Stud Muffin. He's looking at the costume and he says, tight, nice. Stud Muffin makes sense because I've had a muffin top the majority of my life. I don't know if that has another meaning in slang. You know, muffin top to me is like the excess chubbiness around your waist. You know, they sang a song about it in 30 Rock. But I don't know. Maybe it has a different meaning I'm not aware of. But he said, I always said if I could have any dream job, I'd be a mascot. You get people pumped up and nobody knows who you are. So I'm here to rep my team. And then we go into the real clue package. He's, sort of lifting weights. He points to a, big muscle on his arm. I don't have one, but he sure did. And he said, I learned that having a strong crew was the only way to score. And we see behind him is like a brick wall with some graffiti, like it's on a basketball court. And there's a boombox there in the graffiti. He says, before we swept the competition, I was sweeping up the floors. And he holds up a jar that says jam on it. Until I found my right hook was my shot at the big time. And he's just, flashing lots of bills there. And he said, we went from the muffin bottom to the muffin top. And he's saying, jump around by House of Pain. And then afterwards, Nick was positive that he knows who this is. But he said, one of my teammates used to run with a mascot and thought they were in love, but love don't cost a thing. Now, Nick Cannon was in the movie Love Don't Cost a Thing, which was a remake of Can't Buy Me Love from the 80s. So he thinks he really knows who this is. I don't know if this is a clue to someone that's been in the movie with him, Love Don't Cost a Thing. Obviously, that was a very famous J-Lo song as well. But the guesses from the panel, Ken was thinking it might be Shaq. We've had many guesses over the years for Shaquille O'Neal. Jenny thought it might be Michael Jordan. I mean, yes, these are superstars. I do think Shaq will probably do the show eventually. Michael Jordan seems to take himself too seriously, so I don't see that happening. But then Rita and Robin both thought this was Method Man. They were thinking from the voice pattern, and he has a specific thing that he does. I guess he sort of sucks in or whatever between syllables or something. So they were on the Method Man trip. That is certainly somebody Nick Cannon would know. I don't think he was in Love Don't Cost a Thing, but he did probably some episodes of Wild and Out or something. I also looked at the Love Don't Cost a Thing soundtrack to see if maybe Method Man was on there. He was not. Now, P. Diddy was, and R. Kelly was. So this is not maybe your finest soundtrack in 2025. But Busta Rhymes was on there, and a few other people I'd recognize. But I had another thought entirely, and I'm going to go with it because I think the clues really match this person as well. Well, actually, I'm between two people from the same band. I think he's talking about his team. A boombox tells me this is early. Method Man, Wu-Tang Clan hit in the mid to late 90s. Boomboxes were not really a huge part of the scene at that point. We had CD players, not necessarily big tape decks with speakers on them. That to me says 80s. And then when he held up the jam jar, I was thinking that maybe for Jam Master Jay from Run DMC. Now, he is no longer with us. He died a while ago. But the other two members of Run DMC, Reverend Run and DMC, are still with us. I think this is one of them. I don't have a guess between the two. Well, I mean, I guess I have to guess. But I think the boombox and the jam is Run DMC to the T here. I don't know about the Love Don't Cost a Thing part, but I think I'm gonna go with DMC Daryl. I forget his full name now, but is it Daryl Mitchell? Is that his name? But Reverend Run, I don't hate as a guest, but I just feel like vocally he's got a little bit of a deeper register, so I'm thinking maybe DMC for that. And he's done a lot of like motivational speaking over the years. He has this very, very positive outlook on life. I can see him, wanting to do this, have a bit of a laugh, and maybe get a positive message out there. So that's my guess. I think this is DMC. All right. So up next is Nessie. And he said, wow, this is legendary when he's looking at the costume. I, too, am a gentle giant. I stick my neck out for the people I love. And I'm a little bit mysterious. And someone even called me a legend. We see a bunch of tabloid covers at that point. And then it sort of dissolves into the rest of the clue package. He said, I'm pretty private. So unless you're deep into the acres of my estate, you might never catch a glimpse of me. And he has a couple things happen there. He has this card that he holds up with lips on it, which look like sort of cracked lips or chapped lips. And then a private plane we see kind of overhead. He says, even my neighbors and mailman don't realize I'm that guy with all the success. And we see a radio with a star on like the speaker part. So radio star, obviously. And we see a horseshoe as well. He says, it's by my design and allows me to live the best of both worlds. Solitude with my family, and I still get to play. And Roxanne is the tune he sung from The Police. Great song. He sang it very, very well. This is clearly somebody who is, I think, a contemporary of that era of Sting, of The Police. And so when Nick talked to him afterwards, he said, well, I took time off to be with my family, but being invited back into the limelight is great. So Rita was thinking the kiss might be for Gene Simmons. I think that's a little obvious. Jenny thought it might be Dan Reynolds from Imagine Dragons. I don't think any of the clues really match with that. Like being out of the spotlight. I mean, he is big on family. I'll give him that. And I don't know. He might have some estate, deep in the woods somewhere. But being invited back to the limelight, Imagine Dragons never left the limelight. They're one of the few rock acts that still play on Top 40 radio. So I don't think that is Dan Reynolds just out of pocket. And then Robin and Ken but Robin was like, dealing with everybody here today. Robin and Ken were very much on the same page of Daryl Hall. I don't hate that guess. And I'm actually like 50-50 between that guess and who I think it is. And the only reason I'm going with my person is, well, a couple reasons. Number one, well, I've seen both of these people in concert. But I saw this gentleman in concert a few years ago. I saw Daryl Hall with John Oates years ago. And of course, John Oates has done this show too. But this other person I saw in concert a few years ago. And when he says something like being invited back to the limelight is great, he has a new album out. And he tours every summer the last few years on these sort of package bills. I saw him with Men at Work and John Waite, but I believe it was last year he toured with Richard Marx and the Hooters. So he's the headliner of some of these package summer tours. I'm talking about Rick Springfield. I don't think Daryl Hall is a bad guess, and I'm sort of, like I said, sort of torn between the two, but I know that Rick Springfield has lived a pretty secluded life. He was, of course, in the 80s, a huge heartthrob on, I think it was General Hospital, but it was some soap opera. He played a doctor there. And then that led him into major, major success with albums and videos and, yes, radio play. So that invokes the radio star. They were thinking maybe the kiss was for Daryl Hall & Oates' Kiss on My List. The Private Plane might be for Private Eyes. But, this package said something else, too. I'm that guy with all the success. Rick Springfield had a record called, an album called Success Hasn't Spoiled Me Yet. So that's a possibility there. And also, even my neighbors and mailmen don't realize I'm that guy. If your name is Daryl Hall, there's only one Daryl Hall, right? But Springfield is not an uncommon last name. And if he has his mail delivered to Richard Springfield, his mailman might not necessarily realize, oh, that's Rick Springfield. I don't know. And I also think, I don't know, Daryl Hall is probably more well-known overall than Rick Springfield. I don't know. But that's my guess. I'm going to stick with it. That's the one I'm actually more confident about than any. I think Daryl Hall is a good guess, though. It could certainly be Daryl Hall as well. All right, up next is Cherry Blossom, and that is who gets sent home. So we will go over the clues and then go to the take it off there. So looking at the costume, she says, wow, very real, and I'm getting nervous. The Cherry Blossom represents rebirth and a changing of seasons. I'm here to honor my close friend who's been here before. Then we go to the clue package. So she's got someone who has been a part of the show before. And when she says honor my close friend, it makes me think someone maybe that's no longer with us. We see a Christmas tree there. And she says, we grew up together, kind of. Or what did she say? She said, you could say we grew up together. And they taught me not to take myself so seriously. No one made me laugh more. And fast forward to the day I turned on The Masked Singer and heard that voice. I knew from the first note who it was. Now I'm following in their footsteps, and I'm terrified. We see a full moon there. She said, I've done it all before, but have never sung before. And they hold up a book that says Best-Selling Blossom. So we're thinking she's a best-selling author, perhaps. And she sings Let's Get Loud from J-Lo. That's certainly a carnival type of motif. But again, Roxanne by the Police. Well, I guess Red Light District. All right, well, whatever. I really think the carnival is just a good excuse for the panel to dress up. But afterwards, Nick was talking to her, and she said, look, I'm channeling my kids' confidence. One of them sings, but my legs are still noodles right now. So this is not someone who is a trained singer at all. And I'll be honest, I really thought the Yorkie was going home. Usually when you have like a Real Housewife on or something, they're just there to sort of, have something to do, make a little name for themselves, outside of the Real Housewives sphere. Sphere is what I meant to say, not spear. But anyway, I was really thinking the Yorkie was going to go home, but it was the Cherry Blossom. So let's talk about who we were thinking. So in the initial guesses, Ken was thinking it might be Tina Fey. We know she has kids, and certainly someone who has done it all. Rita was thinking maybe Laurie Grenier, because we had Damon John on the show years ago. And then Jenny McCarthy was thinking of another Jenny. She said it might be Jenny Garth. She said, well, Brian Austin Green has been on the show before, so this could be Jenny Garth. Well, not only has Brian Austin Green been on the show before, but Tori Spelling was on the show. And Ian Ziering, I think, has been guest a bunch. I can't remember if he was actually on the show or not. I feel like maybe he was, though. But anyway, so after we realized Cherry Blossom is being voted out, of course, we have the clue case, which is one final clue for the judges before they guess. And Joey Fatone came on, and he said, you might remember me. I'm the rabbit. But the Cherry Blossom is a staple at the 90s convention circuits because she's a part of one of the famous TV families of the 90s. And then she says, I had my family by my side, and they'll always be a part of me. So, all right, I'm going through a bunch of the people in my mind who might be on 90s TV shows, but the panel took that and ran with it. Robin thought it might be somebody from his dad's old show, Growing Pains, Tracy Gold. Now, Growing Pains was on the air in the 90s, but really only for a couple of years. It's more known certainly as an 80s show. I think it came on in 84. So the bulk of that was 80s. So I sort of ruled that out. Rita said she doesn't know anything about the 90s. She wasn't born yet. Ha ha ha. Whatever. But she guessed Jessica Biel from Seventh Heaven, certainly a famous TV family. Ken stuck with his Tina Fey, and Jenny stuck with Jenny Garth. Now, I actually, from the voice and from the clues, I don't hate the Tina Fey guess. The Christmas tree could be for the 30 Rock Christmas tree at the Rockefeller Center. Obviously, a lot of SNL vets have been on the show. But I like Jenny Garth a little bit better because certainly Brian Austin Green has been on, Tori Spelling. But I was thinking of a couple other people. The Christmas tree reminded me of Lacey Chabert, who certainly was part of a very famous 90s TV family in Party of Five, the Salingers. But I couldn't quite connect her with anybody that had been on the show. So that was sort of a dead end for me. I was thinking of other like famous 90s families. You had like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Could this be Tatiana Ali, perhaps? I don't think so. I just kept coming back to sort of the found family of 90210. And Jenny Garth is a best-selling author, which, as far as I know, Lacey Chabert is not. I think she had some input in the Mean Girls cookbook, but other than that, I don't think. So, and I also thought of Jennifer Love Hewitt from also Party of Five. She wasn't part of the Salingers, but she was on the show. And she has written books. But again, I couldn't connect anybody else with Party of Five with this show. Matthew Fox was never on. Nev Campbell was never on. So I'm back to Jenny Garth. I don't think it's a bad guess. And certainly, even though Brenda, what's her name? Shannon Doherty was not on this show. Obviously, we did lose her recently. And the way she was talking about, we grew up together. I'm here to honor my close friend. Even though Shannon Doherty wasn't on the show, honor them means they've passed on. So, Brian Austin Green is still here. Tori Spelling, Ian Ziering, if he's been on the show, he's still here. So I don't know. I don't know how right this is, but let's go to the Take It Off. Is this Jenny Garth? Who is it? Oh my God, it's Candace Cameron. Candace Cameron Bure. Well, that all makes sense. All right, hold on. Before they even say anything, that makes total sense. Bob Saget was on the show, and he has passed away, so she's honoring him. And then, the Christmas tree, she's obviously known these days for the Christmas movies on Hallmark, and now her own GAC, whatever that stands for, the Christian Christmas movies. She does that. Although she does have a connection to Robin Thicke, I guess, because, of course, her brother Kirk Cameron was on Growing Pains. So there's that. Darn it. I should have thought of that. The whole thing about honoring, it kept sticking with me. This must be somebody who has passed on. And absolutely, Bob Saget did the show, and a few years later, he had passed. Okay. Wow. That's a famous person. Yep, it says Candace and Joey became friends doing the 90s convention circuit.
So I'm so happy that I got to do it.
Oh, that's nice.
But now I can go home and sleep and breathe. You were so good.
Yeah, she did all right. I really didn't think she was going home this week.
Robin, you were close. Well, we've known each other since we were 9 years old.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because her brother Kirk Cameron.
And she guested on Growing Pains a couple of times.
I was in the same wheelhouse. We even were like boyfriend and girlfriend for a week at 13 years old.
Oh, Robin and her we're a little boyfriend and girlfriend for a week. All right. Yeah, I was gonna say that makes total sense. So he was the closest with Tracy Gold, certainly. Since Kirk Cameron was on the show, that's cool. All right, well, I missed another one. I should have thought a little bit more about the clues, but certainly they all match. I'm sure she's at a bestseller. She seems like the kind of person that has written a book. Yeah, the Christmas tree, all the Christmas movies. That makes a lot of sense. All right, well, finally, we have the mad scientist monster. And I think the panel is way off on this. He says, he don't look that mad to me. Becoming the mad scientist monster fits me because you have to keep experimenting and reinventing yourself. Sometimes you think you have the perfect equation and that things will be simple. And then we go to the rest of the clue package. He says, he was on the path to become the best in my field. My skills made the scouts go wild. And we see a speed gun at that point. It says the word fast on it. He said, everyone wanted to recruit me, but everything combusted. They sidelined me. And we see when he says they sidelined me, it's this explosion that has sort of bubbled over. But what it looks like is sort of a ruby, because it's a red color in this sort of funnel type thing that sort of looks like the shape of a ruby. So I just wrote red ruby ring question mark. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but that's sort of what my eyes were seeing. He said, but a new experience bubbled to the surface, and we see a Billy Bass fish at that point, or well, just a bass fish, not necessarily the Billy Bass specifically, but he says my new career changed the world, and I found my purpose. And he sang "Unwell" by Matchbox 20, not particularly well. Again, I don't know. I feel like Cherry Blossom probably did better. But Nick was talking to him afterwards as for why is he doing the show, and he said it gives me an opportunity to reintroduce myself to fans. So the panel was all over the country stars. Jenny thought it might be Luke Bryan. Ken thought it might be Luke Combs. And then Robin thought it might be Blake Shelton. That one makes the most sense because certainly he had, a singing career that was doing fine, but he became a superstar when he started co-chairing on The Voice. And that makes a lot of sense with that. But I was thinking, I think these guys are all out of it. I think this is a baseball player, and he's talking about, he was saying being drafted, the scouts, would go wild. Obviously, that's more of a sporting term than a music term. I guess not exclusively, but it's what I thought of. But anyway, then we had Lucky Duck before the commercial break come on and say, well, the panel's way off on their guess for the fast clue. If you've been listening, you'll hear the right pitch. So there you go. I think I'm on the right track. I think this is a pitcher. By the way, I talked last week about Lucky Duck, and if we are supposed to guess who is under the Lucky Duck mask. I guess we are, but I don't think the panel is seeing the Lucky Duck clues. I think that's just for the audience at home. But anyway, Taika Waititi was bandied about in the comments by a couple of you, and I'm gonna say that is a good guess because of course we had the Cloodle-Doo before, and that was Donnie Wahlberg, who is Jenny's husband. Taika Waititi is Rita Ora's husband. He is a famous director and an actor. So I think that's a good guess for the Lucky Duck. With really no clues to go on, but sort of the voice and the fact that we had a husband of a panelist earlier. Yeah, I think I don't know much about sports, and so it's unfortunate that nobody was saying sports people. But he is very, very tall. Now, we've been deceived before a little bit with the height thing, but I do believe that this is probably a tall baseball pitcher. However, that gives me almost nothing because I know so little about baseball. Now, Nolan Ryan, I am almost positive was a pitcher. But I don't want to say him because I'm not 100% sure he was a pitcher. I'm like 90% sure. But there is this one guy who is very tall. He's like 6'9" or something. And he is definitely a pitcher. He was hot for a little while. And then I don't know what happened to him after that. He might be a commentator now, which would explain, his sort of second career. I don't know if that's the case. But what about Randy Johnson? His nickname was the Big Unit. And I don't know if that's a penis joke or not. But he is very, very tall, so that could certainly be, the big part maybe. But his nickname was the Big Unit, so I sort of, thought, well, that's, kind of funny. So I know who this person is, and I know he's a pitcher. He didn't play for the Phillies, though. I thought maybe the red, like the ruby red thing, might be a Phillies clue. He didn't play for the Phillies. But that's my guess. I really have nothing. I mean, I think it's a baseball pitcher. I think it's an athlete. So I definitely need help in the comments there. But my guess for now is Randy Johnson. So we'll see. I think Rick Springfield is a 50-50. I don't hate my guess for DMC. But these other two, I have absolutely no clue on. The Real Housewife and the potential baseball pitcher. No. Please help me in the comments on that. That will wrap it up. I think this might be my longest Masked Singer video ever, which is insane. So let's wrap it there. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.